Hello friends, let us continue with lesson number 2. This is the 6th video on employment topic that we are studying. In the previous video, we had started with studying about the unemployment, various definitions in this particular topic. What are the different kinds of unemployment, their definition, meaning, examples we had seen. Now the real question is, how do we measure unemployment, right? So we always talk about unemployment is high, unemployment is going down or going up, but how do we actually measure it? Because we can only say if there is any improvement or if there is any degradation further only when we can measure something, whether it is going up or whether it is going down. So measuring unemployment is actually a difficult task, to be very honest. In India, how do we do it? Let us see. The first one is through the National Sample Survey, NSS. So National Sample Survey is conducted by the National Statistics Office, NSO, which conducts periodic labor force surveys to measure unemployment. So keep these two things in mind: periodic labor force survey and National Statistics Office. Okay, National Statistical Office. You need to maybe by heart these two terminology because it might be useful to you. PLFS, which is periodic labor force surveys. How do they measure it? So basically there are a few measures through which few questions in the survey by which they get to know the employment status of a person. They ask questions to the people, to a sample of people, not the entire population. So see, the word here used is survey. So survey is always done of a few people in the population and not the entire population. Whenever we are going and asking question to each and every household in the country, that is called census. Okay, but census is conducted every 10 years, but this is a survey. Okay, so survey is not conducted for the entire population because it will take a lot of time and we can't afford to do it also. It costs us money also. So how do they do it? They check the usual status of the people and the current weekly status. Okay, now what are these two things? Let us see. First of all, the usual status means it captures the long-term unemployment. So they will ask the question as following: whether a person was employed during the previous 183 days or more in the preceding 365 days. So in the last 365 days, meaning in the last 1 year, whether the person was employed for 183 days or more, meaning more than or equal to 6 months. If that person was employed in last 1 year in the preceding 365 days, then that person is considered to be employed under the usual status category. So this is the usual principal status. Okay, or there is a supplementary question whether in the previous 365 days he was employed for 30 days for doing any small work also. So that is called usual subsidiary status. So there might be a person who might not be engaged for 6 months, but he might be engaged for just 1 month. So these are the two things which are captured under usual status category. And the second category is current weekly status. So what it means? It means that it is counted as employed if they have worked for at least 1 hour on at least 1 day in the preceding 7 days. So this is see more of a current status. Basically whenever the survey is being conducted, for example the survey is conducted today. So today they will ask that in the previous 7 days, meaning in the previous week, were you employed for at least 1 hour in at least 1 day of the previous 7 days? So they will just check that, and if that person says yes, that means he is employed under the current weekly status. So these are the different questions that are asked in the PLFS. The second measure that we have to see in unemployment is basically labor force participation rate, LFPR. This is also very, very important. In the previous video, I have already explained to you the meaning of labor force. Right? We have seen the difference between population, then working age population, then labor force, and out of labor force, employed and unemployed. So we have already seen this. Labor force participation rate is basically the proportion of working age population that is either employed or actively looking for work. Okay, so this is a percentage of the working age population of either employed or actively looking for work, meaning employed plus unemployed, employed plus unemployed divided by the total working age population, multiply by 100. This is the percentage labor force participation. Now India's labor force participation, now it goes on varying. It varies, maybe sometimes it is high, sometimes it is low. It keeps on fluctuating because people do move in and out of the workforce, and people do enter the workforce also, and people do exit the workforce also because of several reasons. For example, if a woman is there and currently she is working somewhere, so she is part of the workforce, but say for example she is pregnant and she delivers a child, and she decides that she doesn't want to work for next 2 years to take care of her child. So that means she is not participating in the labor force. In that case, she is not part of the labor force. So she won't be counted as unemployed also, because she is not willing to work during that time. So it keeps on changing. Now India's labor force participation rate is lower than the global average, especially for women. So labor force participation rate for women is less in our country, very, very less in fact, if we look at the global average. So that says that majority of our population, of our working age population, are not even participating in the labor force. So they are not even part of labor force. They don't want to work also, right? So there are several reasons for this, and we know that women are majority of women in our country don't want to work because they are engaged in domestic work. They are engaged in what we call as care economy. Okay, so they are taking care of children, they are taking care of the elderly parents, they are taking care of the home. So they are part of the care economy, but it is unfortunately not monetized. So this care economy is not monetized in our country. That means we don't consider it to be a part of GDP. So although that is a very valuable service. Now unemployment rate, this is a third metric. It is very simple. Unemployment rate is basically the number of unemployed person divided by the total labor force, multiply by 100. So people who are participating in the labor force, so that is the total labor force, and a number of people who are unemployed out of them, multiply by 100 gives you the unemployment rate. You have to see the latest unemployment rate whenever you're writing this exam. So please check what is the latest unemployment rate, although you will get different rates depending on which survey you are looking. If you are looking at the unemployment rate given by the NSO, National Statistical Office, through the periodic labor force survey, you will find some other rate. If you look at unemployment rate given by the, say, World Trade Organization, WTO, it will be different. If you look at the unemployment rate given by the ILO, International Labour Organization, it will be different. If you look at unemployment rate given by the CMIE, which is a private organization, it will be different. So unemployment rate may vary depending on what definition is used for unemployed, right? So here in the PLFS itself, we saw that there are three definitions. So this is one, this is second, and this is third. So which definition we are looking at, it depends on that as to who is called unemployed. And that is one of the challenges why unemployment is very difficult to determine. Now consumer pyramid household survey, this is I have included this here because it is an important thing. It is always there in the news also. It is called CPHS, just like we saw consumer, just like we saw periodic labor force survey, PLFS. This is consumer pyramid household survey. It is conducted by CMIE, which is a private organization. The full form of CMIE is Center for Monitoring Indian Economy. Okay, Center for Monitoring Indian Economy. So this is the private organization. They also conduct one survey which is known as Consumer Pyramid Household Survey. It asks question to households about their occupation, etc. So in that survey there are many questions, and out of that question, one of the question is about what are you doing, what do you do, occupation. and each household touched once in 4 months. So they will touch those households every 4 months. So periodic survey, it is a periodic survey. Like for example, they have touched these 10 households. So these 10 households will be touched every 4 months. So this month they have conducted, say this is the month of April. So again after 4 months, that is May, June, July, August. So again in August they will touch the same sample of household. They will ask them again the same question. Similarly, the households which were touched, which were asked question in the month of May, they will be asked questions again in the month of September. So this is how it goes on. So each household is touched every 4 months, that is in waves, and it is therefore a high frequency data. So this PLFS is not that high frequency. So they don't release it every month or every 4 months or maybe every year also. It is mostly released every 2 years or every year, like that. But CPHS is released on a monthly basis, because for every month they have a set of household in the economy, and every household will be touched in 4 months. Now working age population ratio, worker population ratio, it is a percentage of employed persons in the population. So basically in unemployment rate, we see the number of unemployed divided by the labor force multiplied by 100. But here we we look at the percentage of employed person, meaning people who are employed, divided by the total population of the country, okay, and not the labor force. So this is just another metric that we look at, just to know how in the economy, how much is the young population, how much is the working age population, and how much is the participation. So that is what we see. Now again, this is the same graph, but I have drawn it in a radial fashion this time. This is the same thing that we saw in the previous video. So you can see that this larger circle, which is basically the total population. This entire area of this circle is a total population. Now out of this total population, this second circle, this is the first circle, this second circle, this area of this second circle is basically the people in working age. Okay, so this remaining area of this larger circle, which is not covered by this second circle, is basically the people who are not in working age, maybe children and retired people, aged people. Now out of this working age population also, this third circle is the labor force, people who are looking for jobs, okay, people who are participating in the labor force, meaning they are either employed or they are basically not employed, they are looking for job. So people who got left out are basically the people who are not looking for jobs, this area. And lastly, out of this labor force also, this third circle, out of this labor force also, this smaller circle, this fourth circle, is the people who are employed out of that. So the left out are the unemployed. Okay, so this is the same thing that we have seen in the previous video. Now as I was talking that there are various challenges in measuring the unemployment. So the first challenge is informal sector dominance. In India, about 80 to 90% population are engaged in informal sectors. So it is very difficult to track them. Okay, it lacks proper documentation, can't accurately capture the unemployment there. Underemployment is also there because of informal sector, because people are engaged in either part-time job, low-paying job, low-skilled jobs, yet are counted as employed. For example, an MBA graduate is working as, say, peon. Okay, so basically he is underemployed, and still he will be counted as employed, because our questions are that whether you are working or not. So you are working as what, we don't ask that. So that is one challenge. So it is not a very accurate measure basically. Then disguised unemployment is also there. This also we have seen. It is mostly in agriculture, family farms, family run farms. In family there are 5 brothers, all 5 of them will be engaged in farming on, say, 1 acre of land. So in 1 acre of land, say, only 1 brother is required, but these remaining 4 are also working there because they don't have anything else to do. So they are in a way disguised unemployed. So they are counted as employed even though marginal productivity is almost 0. So they are not adding anything new. So 1 acre of land can be cultivated by even 1 person, by 1 brother. So this another 4 brother, additional 4 brothers, they are not adding any more production value to this 1 acre of farm. Nothing more is added. So 1 person can also cultivate say 10 quintals of wheat, these 5 people are also cultivating 10 quintal of wheat. So their marginal productivity is 0. Marginal productivity meaning what is the additional productivity that they are contributing to the farm or to the economy. So their marginal productivity is almost 0. That is called disguised unemployment. Keep this concept in mind, friends, that in doing disguised unemployment, the marginal productivity is 0, almost 0. Now there are data collection issues also. National surveys, as we have seen, such as PLFS, is conducted by NSO. So previously NSO was called NSSO, National Sample Survey Organization. Now Government of India, now meaning long back, Government of India combined the two organizations. One is the CSO, which is Central Statistics Office, and NSSO into one office, which is now NSO. Okay, National Statistical Office. So national surveys are such as PLFS conducted by NSSO may not capture the nuances of urban and rural unemployment accurately, because we saw that their question is very generic question, that whether you are employed in the previous 183 days in the last 365 days or not, or whether you are employed during the last 7 days for at least 1 hour on one day. So they are very generic question. They don't look at the nuances of urban and rural unemployment and also the type of unemployment. Sampling techniques may not fully account for the heterogeneity in employment type. So how they are sampling their people for the survey, that also determines the outcome of the survey. Seasonality is also there. So maybe if the survey is conducted say in January, and previous 6 months in January, say for example, it is a festive season, so a lot of people say they find employment during this season. But once this festive season is over, in the next 6 months they might not have any jobs. So because of seasonality, there might be an over prediction of jobs. Similarly, for the monthly survey also, if you are predicting something during the harvest season or sowing season, people might say that yes, I have a job, but in the lean season they might not have job. So seasonality also affects data collection. Technological gaps are also there. Track and report the employment data remains underdeveloped, especially in rural areas. So again, we are not able to fully leverage the technology here. Definition and perception of unemployment, this also matters. How do we define unemployment and how do we perceive unemployment? See, unemployment is considered to be a negative thing. Okay, so people don't really feel proud of not being employed. In fact, they should not be. So there are cultural differences. Social stigma may lead to underreporting. So even if a person is not working at all, he's not earning anything, but still he will say yes, I am working. So there is a social stigma to it because to the unemployment. Self-employment, difficult to truly assess whether they are employed or merely engaged in subsistence activity. So somebody is say running a very small very small self-employment initiative, is merely able to earn his livelihood every day. So but he will say that yes, I am working and I am earning something. So again, whether do we truly call it employment or not, that depends. Okay, so it is very difficult to assess the employment situation there, whether he is really truly engaged in a meaningful activity or not. Then urban and rural discrepancies. Surveys often fail to capture the movement between informal jobs. Okay, so there is a very fluid movement between informal jobs in urban centers and rural livelihoods where people may be seasonally employed or migrate for work. So maybe in urban centers when there is construction work going on, say, so people from rural area, they might be taken to the urban areas from rural areas to work there. But once this work gets over, they again migrate back to the rural area and they are unemployed. Similarly, during the sowing season or the harvesting season in rural area, people might migrate back to the rural area, they will work there, and then again they will come to urban area in search of jobs. So they are unemployed at that time. So this depends. There is a very fluid movement to and fro from urban to rural. The next is youth unemployment. Many youth engage in part-time works. Okay, they may not be actively seeking work, thus not counted in official statistics. So example is basically people who are studying for competitive exams or for higher studies. Gender disparity. Many women are engaged in unpaid household work that I have told you, which is part of care economy. Yet they are not classified as employed, even though they contribute significantly to the economy. So even though the care work that the household women they give, it has a high economic value, because see, if the mother in the family is cooking, is cooking food for you, is washing clothes for you, is cleaning house for you, and she doesn't get paid for doing all these things. But if you hire a maid servant to do all this activity, she will obviously charge you. So now when you are hiring somebody to do this, you are paying them. But when your mother is doing that for you, you don't pay her any money for that. So that does not become part of the service sector of the economy. But when a maid servant is doing it, it becomes part of the service sector, but not for the mother. So such a concept is known as so this distinguishes the care economy from the monetized economy. So when it is a part, when the maid is doing it, it becomes part of monetized economy, because you are paying her the money for the work, for the service that she is giving you. So monetized economy is basically everything that becomes part of the GDP, because there is a money value to it. You put a value in terms of money to it. But care economy is basically the care given by the mothers, by the people, for the household, for their loved ones, for their children, for the grandparents, for parents, that does not get monetized. Okay, so that does not become a part of the GDP also. So many women, although they are doing this very, very important economic activity, they are considered to be unemployed, or they are not part of the labor force. So not the part of labor force also. So okay, so they are not classified as employed, even though they contribute significantly to the economy. So here is a concept of care economy versus monetized economy. This is a very, very important concept that we need to keep in mind. Outdated metrics and lack of timely data. Traditional unemployment rate may not reflect modern day reality, especially with gig economy, meaning part-time jobs that you are doing, freelancing work that you are doing, freelance work, contract labor, which complicates employment classification. So again, it is a very, very complicated matter, and it is very difficult to measure them. Frequency of survey may not give real-time insights, gaps in policy response. So many times these surveys are very late. So for example, this NSSO or the NSO, which gives you the periodic labor force survey, say for example, they have conducted the survey in the month of October 2024. Now they will release the data, say in October 2025, after 1 year. So during this 1 year, the condition must have changed. So there is a gap in the policy response also. So the frequency with which this survey is conducted, first of all, and second, when they are releasing the data, that is also very, very doubtful. So also one thing that you must notice here, that there are a lot of political implications also when it comes to unemployment. So most of the times the government does not want the organizations to release the true figure of unemployment rate, because it might lead to questions on the government. So they will suppress the data. They will try to induce these organizations in not to release the correct data or data in time, especially during election times. So that is again one of the concerns that is there, which comes out in the news also many times. So this was about unemployment. Okay, I hope you have understood the various definitions, various concepts in unemployment. With this, we are ending the lesson on employment. I hope you have understood it. Please do watch the previous videos also on this topic, and also the lesson number 1. From the next video, we are going to start a new lesson. Thank you.